Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking movies, TV, comics, and more. Join in the conversation on our social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome back for another edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. I'm your host, Kenem. Joining me in studio, as always, is the co-host, recovered from the head cold of all head colds.
Yeah.
It's the one, the only, Padawan J.
Glad to be back in the studio. Yeah, no kidding. That head cold, it wasn't any virus or anything terrible. It was just a really bad head cold. It really knocked me on my keister.
Absolutely, and we got to give another special shout-out to Brian from Cheers to Comics, who saved the day, jumped in to co-host last week, because we had a lot to talk about last week, and we have a lot to talk about this week. But, Pat, it's great to have you back in studio for this one.
Thank you.
So, everybody, let's join in that conversation, shall we? OchoDuroParlayHour.com. Join in the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and always remember to use the hashtag ODPH, because there's a lot happening in the land of movies, TV, and comics. So let's kick it off with recapping the CW DC universe. Our shows are back after a 1-week hiatus.
Yep. Random 1-week hiatus. Well, who knows?
Well, you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes on with the CW that they
That's
kind of
true.
take random breaks for different reasons.
That's true.
So, obviously, when they took the week off, we had a lot to left be desired because, as we were talking about The Flash, we just came back from the return of Grodd, and now we're jumping back into a familiar face, returning, and that is one Wally West.
Zen Wally West.
Yes, Zen.
Namaste.
Zen Wally West. So, we are going to be talking spoilers. So, if you haven't seen the episode and you want to, pause the episode right here. But if you've seen it, or you want to just hear about it, we are going to deep dive into it starting in 3, 2, 1, Pad. What did you think?
I thought it was a good episode. You know, not exactly a home run, grand slam out of the park, but it was a good episode. I mean, it had its moments that were infuriating, but, that wasn't anything to do with the story or I didn't like what was going on, but it was good.
It served its purpose. The Flash, since they've returned from Crisis, has been very hit or miss.
Yeah.
I thought they started hitting their stride last week the last episode with Grodd, because obviously when you deep dive into the Flash's Rogues Gallery, and I've said this many times, I know I'll keep saying it, his Rogues Gallery is up there with the Spider-Mans and the Batmans. It's very deep. It's very interesting, the dynamic he has with his Rogues.
Yeah.
So to see a classic villain show up, such as Grodd, it's a big thing. This season, since they've been returned from Crisis, they've been introducing more recent adversary, shall we say.
Yeah.
And the connection really hasn't hit. I know they're kind of playing the long game here.
Well, and that's the thing we've also kind of said is with this, the first half of the season felt like its own season in and of itself, because the entirety of the first half of the season was getting ready for Crisis. I know they had that whole other subplot going on with blood work and all that going on, but backseat, back burner. It was all about Crisis, getting ready for Crisis, getting ready for the team to move on from having Barry around and all this. And this, once you got past that, it's like, all right, hey, time for the actual season to start.
Right. So now we're kicking in full gear, and this is where we're starting to see the ramifications of Crisis show up, which I do like. I will say, as critical as I've been about the Flash this season, I do like it that they're showing that there are lasting effects. That is not just the 2 episodes and done, which has typically been the case for the Flash.
And they're not beating you over the head with it, and they're not doing little, it's a little tidbit, a little, an M&M or a Skittle that, hey, remind you, hey, not everything's the same. Not everything's as you remember it to be. It's enough that, like, okay, stuff has changed, it's interesting to see, but it's not like 30 minutes of, exposition of, oh, hey, here's what's changed this week.
Right, because as the episode opens up, we see a philanthropist, a celebrity, shall we say, we're not really sure her background, flying in a helicopter, and all of a sudden that helicopter is attacked.
Yep.
And then we start seeing this yellow flash of light running around the helicopter, saving the day, and Team Flash is watching this from Star Labs, and they're like, okay, well, Barry's already on the scene, and then Barry comes walking in and going, what's going on? And lo and behold, we find out it's the return of one Wally West, which is always good to see him back on the show. It's been a while since we've seen him reappear, obviously.
Yep.
And to see kind of the interaction that Keanu Lonsdale has been playing in this interpretation of Wally, we see that, as Pat alluded to, he's in a very Zen-like place.
He's almost like a Danny Rand type of thing.
Yeah.
Or where, season 1, Danny Rand.
Yeah. So to see where he is now, and obviously there was a little touch upon this when he was in the Legends for the run,
Right.
which I still think that they should have kept Lonsdale on Legends. I think they did a real mistake by letting him go from there. But I digress because now we get him back, and you can kind of see that those ramifications are still there in some degree. That being said, we jump in, and Barry is having somebody to balance out what's going on with the Speed Force, because obviously with what happened in Crisis, there's been, I don't want to say blackout moments, but he's having some issues controlling the lightning.
He's having some issues, and all of a sudden, unlike previous seasons, they're a little lacking in other speedsters he can bounce off of. In seasons past, he could maybe get a hold of Jay Garrick and go, hey, I got this issue going on. You're more seasoned than I am at this. What's going on? Or even, what's her face? From
Jessie
Quick from Earth 2, she might have known something. Or there was or even maybe his daughter from the future he could have bounced something off of. But now all of a sudden, up until Wally shows up again, he really doesn't have anybody. So it's kind of like he's on his own.
Right. So obviously this kind of helps him figure out what is going on, because this is a big plot line that has been building since Crisis ended.
Right.
Which I do like that they're touching upon it, and the explanation about why it's happening
makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. And Pad, what is it?
The Speed Force is dying.
Yes, the Speed Force is dying because when Barry got his power boost up, or whatever you want to define it, from Oliver Queen's Spectre, this really upset everything in the balance of the Force.
Yeah.
Not, the true Force, but for the Speed Force. And it was the right move to do at the time, too, because when the Anti-Monitor is destroying all forms of life across the timeline and the multiverse, you got to take extreme measures. What Barry did made sense. Now, Wally had no idea about this because he was off. It never really was explained what he was involved in.
I think at one point later in the episode he mentioned something about the Peace Corps.
All right, maybe something like that.
So I think he was involved with the Peace Corps in some capacity.
But he wasn't mentioned in the major Crisis storyline.
Right,
so,
right.
So at this point he's kind of hearing about it, and this is really upsetting Wally, because when you tamper with the Speed Force, it's not just one person you're tampering with. It's everybody.
Right.
And let's face it, when Barry tries fixing things, it always goes wrong.
Yeah, and there's no things are a little wrong, it's a little hiccup here. No, it's like worst case scenario.
No, it just is the ultimate, we screwed up and it's bad, and we're already at DEFCON 5. And this is kind of like a typical Flash move, so I wasn't really super shocked at this. But I do love it that they did explain it and explain how it ties into Crisis, because that is something that I was fearing, that now that the shows have kind of started picking up their steam, this was going to get forgotten about. But I digress. It's a cool little storyline that's going on with them. Meanwhile, at Jitters, the philanthropist / celebrity was in there getting a cup of coffee and is attacked by somebody that we find out later is Turtle 2.
2.0.
2.0, which is christened this by the one and only Cisco Ramon, a.k.a. Vibe, a.k.a. Carlos Valdez, who has returned to the show for a little bit. We don't know how long he's sticking around.
Yep.
I wouldn't suspect too long, but in typical Cisco fashion, he has a baseball card album book of all the rogues.
Yeah, that was really cool to see.
It's him. I mean, and if this was on Arrow, I'd be like scratching my head. But Flash,
it's him.
Flash hams it up a little bit for it, and I get it, and it works for it, so I'm not mad about it at all.
No, and especially given his age, if Pokemon was a thing in that universe, he absolutely did the same thing with Pokemon cards or any of the other trading card games as a kid.
Yes, because once the philanthropist is attacked and killed because she is aged rapidly.
I think if I remember right, when the police department shows up to examine her body, when Wally's telling the story of rescuing her, she's like, "Oh no, she didn't look anything like this. She looked like a young, vibrant woman." And Barry's looking at her, and he's doing some sort of age test or whatever to determine her age based on her skin. He goes, "Yeah, this is telling me she's 110 years old."
Yes. So that storyline is going on. Now I have to track down the new Turtle 2.
Right.
And the other plot line that is going on here as well too is the Iris storyline, which I'm sorry, I'm still not buying in on. And I'm just kind of going, meh. So, and it's just more of Iris dealing with the evil black hole organization and what the real story is with Eva. because we just don't know. And
No.
whatever is going on there, I feel they're dragging. I know they want to do the slow build.
Yeah.
But I'm already losing interest in it because it's
taking way too long. I feel like you could definitely take some episodes off and not show her, because let's be honest, this episode she really didn't do much other than sit there watching Barry and her friends and maybe trying to peek through once or twice. But outside that, there wasn't anything a real revelation.
No, the only thing that was noteworthy is Camilla had taken a picture of Iris, and they freaked out.
Right.
Or Iris freaked out about it and was given some kind of nonsense line, and it was allegedly deleted. And this will kind of come back later in the show, but it was really interesting to see why it was such a big deal. And then, obviously, with everybody else going on, we still have the return of one Eobard Thawne, which Tom Cavanaugh killing it as always.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what can you say about him that he, without him on that show, I feel
it'd be very depressing.
I feel that they'd be lacking something big, something. I don't know exactly what, but for all that Tom Cavanaugh brings to that role, and for every interpretation of Harrison Wells that he does,
right,
let alone with Eobard Thawne, it's always a different personality, and you get this because once you see Thawne try making his move and attack Cisco,
right,
because he's trying to figure out why everything is going on with the Speed Force. And when it is revealed that, well, he has lost his Speed Force,
right,
Cisco gets the upper hand, and this is kind of where Thawne is still, kind of seeing what he can do.
Well, he loses his Speed Force not through anything existential reason. It's just because the body he's in doesn't have the Speed Force.
Right, but this is where you kind of see him, is he playing the long game and trying to get caught to just get some more information.
That's true.
That's what I thought.
That's
because
true.
for him to go against Cisco, now granted, Cisco has been depowered, as far as we can tell.
No, he got repowered up for Crisis, and to my knowledge, they never said anything about taking that away.
But he never uses it since he came back. That was the point about it, that I wasn't sure if he got his powers back for Crisis and then they took it away, or kind of in that mix. Because it's never really said.
They never really, like you said, they never really said, and they never really detailed. At no point did they say you have lost your powers. So I'm going on the assumption he's got them. He's just not using them.
Yeah, that's the only thing too. I didn't really understand with that. So that's why I'm kind of going on. And if I miss something, there's a lot of stuff going on with this episode that maybe he has it, but I don't remember him using him lately.
Right.
So that being said, that Thawne lets himself get captured and basically gives his death threat to Barry that says, I am just back to kill you because if I'm going to die, I'm taking you with me. Which is typical Thawne and just playing the long game. So,
oh, yeah.
And then when Thawne says he does have access to the negative Speed Force, which he touched upon in Season 1, it's very cool to see the throwback to it.
Yeah.
But at this point, too, Barry is trying to tap into that as well,
right?
Since he knows that his Speed Force is going away because the Speed Force is dying.
Well, yeah, because at one point in the episode, the Speed Force dies, and whatever energy is left is it. Once they're out, it's like a tank of gas. Once you're out of gas in your tank of your car, you're done.
Yeah. So during this whole bit, I mean, obviously they find a way to take down Turtle 2 because disposable villain to begin with.
Yeah.
So nothing really too much to write home about. It's a team up of the Flashes. And they kind of just really have I don't want to say a throwaway episode with this, but the major antagonist really I already forgot about.
Right.
It was kind of like a one and done, easy wrap up. And it was interesting to see that Wally just came back for the quick fix and obviously to kind of build up what they're doing with the Speed Force moving forward.
Right. I mean, it was kind of a throwaway episode, throwaway villain, but it was more setting up for what's going to take place going forward. I mean, you couldn't have just an entire episode of just them sitting there talking,
right,
and doing it. Like, they needed a foil, they needed something to go after, they needed something to fight, all the while dealing with Eobard Thawne.
Yeah. So obviously this had to serve its purpose, and I get it. And I'm like I said, I wasn't mad about this episode. I actually thought it was pretty good for what it was.
Yeah.
And especially with the cliffhanger ending, because once that is revealed that Camilla didn't delete the picture. And yet she sees now the true nature that Iris is, that's walking around Central City is actually the Mirror Iris, we'll just call her.
Right.
And lo and behold, who finds out? Mirror Iris.
Yep.
Who fires her with the mirror gun. So Camilla, I don't know, is killed off.
I'm guessing she got put in the Mirror universe.
Yeah, me too. And obviously where that goes forward is going to be kind of anybody's guess, because now it's a wide open playing field that Barry is now trying to figure out, okay, I need to save the Speed Force, And anytime he's trying to tap into this, it reminds me when he had like Velocity 5, I believe, from
yeah.
season 1.
Yeah.
He starts tinkering around with that. And I know that the trailer for next week's episode, you hear speed steroids.
Right.
So have we already hit this point of the season where we're going to dire straits, to say the Speed Force? Like, is one crisis to another, so to speak?
No, I mean, it makes sense on the one hand that, like, okay, you need to figure out how to tap into your own Speed Force. I kind of look at it as a jumping off point. Like, okay, we've got this drug that helped give people temporary speed powers, so why don't we go from there and build off of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So overall, it was a good episode to come back on. Like I said, I'm not too mad about it. Where they go with it next week, I don't know. And like I say, Cisco, I don't see sticking around too long unless he's planning on being there. But then again, when they announced that Brandon McKnight, who plays Chester, is going to be a regular on the series, they're essentially the same character, just different sides of a coin.
I think he'll stick around for as long as Thawne is around, because I can't, as much as grief and headache as he's given Barry and their team over the years, I can't imagine Cisco's going to show up for a week, no, reverse flashes there, and running around and just go, hey, well, I know you guys got to deal with this, but see you later.
Right, unless, of course, he tries going after Camilla, and that ties in with him. Like, that's the only thing I can see with his story.
Right.
Since they brought him back, and they needed an explanation to write him out. Because, like I said, after Crisis, we really haven't seen too much. So, like I said, I'm not really sure what the state of his powers are. Or if he just kind of says, well, at this stage, I'm out. Because, like I said, he came back to write himself off when they came back from the season premiere. But you never really kind of deep dive into where he was standing on that.
Right.
So when he was taking the meta-human cure, that's why he took off in the first place. And he was trying to figure out everything that's happened since Crisis. So, I mean, once he finally got done getting the information in, who knows? But I just can't see him not having his powers later.
Right.
They're going to tie that in somewhere. They just have to. I just don't see him just saying one and done with it. But overall, good episode.
Yeah.
Not too mad about it. Then we go right to Legends.
Yeah.
Which Legends, we say it once, we say it again. It's American Doctor Who, and this episode really touched on every single level of it, in my opinion. Because this was the story of how Ray Palmer, Brandon Routh, everybody's favorite fourth Superman, was setting up to do his big marriage proposal to Nora Dark. And lo and behold, we come back, and we are talking spoilers still on this.
Yep.
We come back to see one of our favorites return to the show, one of the best villains in the whole DC CW universe. And Pad, who is that?
Damien Dark.
Yes. Neil McDonough coming back was a great sign to see. He always, always, always crushes it on Legends or whatever show he's on, because he just goes so super ham with it. And just really just eats so much scenes up, and just with his charisma, and it's something that just needed to be added to it.
I will say, though, him coming back, it was a bit confusing at first, because they said, oh, we have another recurrence, a.k.a. somebody back from the dead who, shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. But he was still acting like it was him from, whatever season he was on Legends, because when he went to meet up with and meet his daughter, he acted like everything was hunky-dory and fine. He knew the Time Bureau and the captain of that. Like, he didn't know anything that had happened. So I don't know if that was just an effect of, hey, coming back to life, you might have forgotten some things, or it was just out of time.
Well, it's the one thing about Legends that I will say does get confusing at times. No pun intended.
Right.
When they bring characters out from different timelines, and you had to really pay attention for where he was when he came back, because they tied it, 2 years ago when they had the Beebo versus the Demon, and that's how he was written off. When he came back, they never really kind of touched upon where he was, other than he was in hell because it's one of Astra's released demons, who decided instead of giving more souls, he was going to go check in on his daughter, which ultimately gets back to the point of he is a father at heart, as twisted as he is with how he does it.
Yeah.
And to see the dynamic that this episode went from being a simple episode of Ray trying to have a marriage proposal into a weird examination of the characters.
Yeah.
And what I mean by this is you see that when Damien Dark comes back, and this is all to do with the timelines and obviously what damage he's done to Sarah Lance's family and what he's done to Ray over the years, and to see John Constantine get mixed in, which one thing, and I didn't realize it until they said it on this episode, because when Damien Dark shows up at Constantine's house, that this whole dinner the fiasco is happening, that is the first time that they have ran into each other.
Oh, yeah.
And I did not realize that at first. And I'm just thinking, has this ever happened in the comics? Because I know Damien Dark has not really been featured in DC Comics,
right,
like to this level.
Right.
And I always keep harping that if DC wanted to do something fun, they should introduce a Legends of Tomorrow comic.
Yeah.
Even for like a limited series, do something fun with that and introduce like the Damien Dark, rebring him back into the DCU. Because like I said, I haven't heard anything about him in ages. But to have him come back and have that magic versus magic moment with Constantine.
Finally, somebody like on par with Damien's powers.
Yeah. And Damien was very cool about saying, he's like, I've heard of you.
Right.
And instantly had that moment of respect with him.
Right. Because every time we've seen Damien Dark, it's just he's completely outclassed and outmatched everyone he's fought against. And finally, it's like, oh, I've met my equal.
Yeah. So it's really interesting to see that dynamic. And I want to see more of that. I don't know if they can pull it off because obviously with wherever Legends is going this year with Astra versus the Legends and the Ultimate Battle, which is coming up sooner than later.
Right.
I'd really love to see Constantine versus Damien Dark in some fashion down the road. Just the screen time they had and the chemistry they had going back and forth with each other was very incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like I said, this was the major focal point of the episode. That you had Sarah Lance, who was going back in time, and they saved Gary from getting ran over by the train coming like the Old West. And I mean, that's just a little fun nod that Legends does, because Legends, at its core, it has its humor, but then it has its drama moments, too.
Right.
And at this stage, too, they are faking that Nora had become this big success.
Oh, my God, yeah. Nora couldn't tell her father the truth and was going to, like, the most ridiculous lengths to keep him happy and give him a story that he would enjoy.
Yeah, I thought this was one of Courtney Ford's better episodes.
Yeah.
That she acted in, and she was really selling the point and really trying to demonstrate that I've taken over and Ava and Sarah Lance are working for me and I've become this, and then they find out that Ray's botched ring proposal.
Oh my God! Yeah,
which it was typical Legends.
Yeah,
like
they think it's in the one dessert Damien's going to eat, but it turns out it's not,
because it was supposed to be the poison that deactivates his powers. Because Legends and reasons and Gary jumping in there too to add the little comic relief. Like they had those little moments, and then finally it ultimately ended up being, did Ray win over Damien Dark? Mm-hmm. Because once the charade is pulled off and Nora says, Ray has changed me for a better person, he finally gets the cosign on to get married to Nora Dark.
Yep.
Albeit, though, where this sets up, and I thought they did a very, very good job with this, is it was already announced that Brandon Roth was leaving the show.
Yep.
And Courtney Ford was, too, as well. So they set it up where Damien Dark said, you've really made a change for my daughter, but you can't do this from that ship. You're going to need to settle down and make a home location where she can do this and she can prosper and she can go. Almost like, I don't want to say it was like a deal with the devil, so to speak.
A little bit.
But with Damien Dark, you never know the ulterior motives.
Yeah.
And what he's really doing and what he's really selling Ray. But I thought it was a very cool take on how to write him out.
Yeah.
Because, like I say, the one thing I will always complain about Legends, or the CW in general, too, is when they announce characters or actors or actresses are leaving shows.
They do it like months in advance.
They do it months in advance, so you know the characters are going, and they're on a ticking time bomb to, like, disappear and go, poof, gone.
Yeah.
I hate that about that, because as a viewer, I would love to be surprised, genuinely surprised. This one, we knew it was coming, albeit though they did it early, which I think is very interesting, that they would take Ray out of the equation.
Right.
Because you assume that after now that he's been married, because he got married right there by one of the members of the Legends.
Yeah, if I remember right, Sarah was the one officiating.
Yeah, I always forget about that, because I always want to say it's Mick. Because
no, we did have a Mick revelation in this episode. He's a father.
Yes, which is very interesting. They're making that dynamic out of nowhere.
Well, no disrespect to the character or the actor, Mick is the last person you would expect to ever be a father.
Yeah, because,
in any way, shape, or form.
Because he's always been there for the comic relief of just having the one-liners, and
ultimately he's in it for himself. I mean, yeah, he helps him out, and yeah, he saves the world and he saves time. But he's also stealing stuff along the way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Dominic Purcell...
He's still looking to make a buck.
Dominic Purcell is just so good in this role. And especially if you know the character Heatwave in the comics, he's a B villain at best. But Purcell brings so much just snarkiness to him. And just something that you gravitate as a fan. Because deep down, you're seeing that, he's a thief and all that. But he wants to be good. And you're seeing the the conversion of it. I mean, obviously, since Captain Cold is no longer there as well,
right,
that you see just the dynamic change in it. So as you see, like his storyline has gone all over the place since he's been on the show. That was like the little backstory that had gone on, and just kind of ties into where Legends is going forward. Because now with Brandon Roth's character leaving, that's a big gap on that team.
Well, I'm betting he sticks around at least maybe till the end of the season.
It would make sense to, because like I said, it wasn't fully he's leaving. This was it.
Because I would kind of put him in the same camp I put Cisco with. Like they're going to stick around for the duration of their dealing with the current, crisis, no pun intended. Where I can't imagine Brandon, as much as a team player as he is, and as much as he cares for everyone on that team, just being, hey, you know what? I just got married, and I just told my new father-in-law that I got to go settle down in a place and time with my new wife. So I know you guys are dealing with this really existential, otherworldly crisis with, hell and demons escaping and all that. But bye.
Yeah, it's something that I think they're going to just have to clarify once they get going, and just how they want to write him off is going to be anybody's guess. But I think that now they set up the seats for it, so I'm not saying it's going to be a short trip, but I wouldn't doubt that by the time the season finale, I believe, is in May, that we'll see him pick up business really quick with that.
Yeah.
But overall, thought 2 strong episodes coming back.
Yeah.
Not the blow away right home about, but
no, they were enjoyable.
Very enjoyable, and like I say, for the CW to be coming back like this, and obviously post-crisis CW has been very mixed reactions. I think Supergirl has been on point since they've come back. Really have. I've been trying to catch up on Batwoman and Black Lightning, so I really can't jump into that. And then the more interesting dynamic, which I talked about last week on One Shots, Pad. It was officially announced that Stargirl has a premiere date.
Right.
And it's going to debut Monday, May 11th on the DC Universe.
Right.
And then the next day on the CW. What do you think about that?
I don't really care. It's its own separate universe. It's got nothing to do with the Arrowverse or anything like that. So, the thing I'm more interested in is I know the season's already filmed and it was on a DC Universe budget. I can't wait to see what the show looks like for season 2 when it's on if it still looks the same.
Yeah, that's something I really want to see.
Because shows on DC Universe and shows on CW do not look the same.
No, it's a very big
night
difference.
And day.
It's a very big difference, especially how you do the stripe armor.
Yeah.
That's one thing between that and Solomon Grundy, which we saw in the trailer.
Born on a Sunday.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. Just to see Grundy come on there and just how the JSA tie-in is going to be. Especially, it's really interesting they're going to be doing that, and with the Black Adam movie coming out that the JSA is going to be featured in, it's anybody's guess. But overall, CW came back pretty strong with their DC shows, but let us know what you think. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. What's your thoughts about Flash and Legends of Tomorrow and the other CW shows? We want to know. Take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Can you imagine a world immune to all forms of cancer?
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for our 4th annual live stream for the cure.
And this year, we need your help more than ever.
Please join us May 27th through May 31st for 48 hours of live content from guests and podcasts around the world.
We'll be aiming for our most ambitious goal to date as we try to raise $10,000 for the Cancer Research Institute.
Please visit www.livestreamforthecure.com for more information on this year's event and how you can be a part of it. Together, we can make a difference.
Hey all, I'm Frank. Join me and my friends as we talk about all things geek. Here at Geek Freaks Podcast, we go over the weekly news of everything in geekdom, from movies to TV, to video games, and comic books. We also have a growing YouTube community. Join us as we go over everything in your geek life and share in the love of geekdom.
Coming back for segment number 2 on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and we have a little special gift for you. Now, from our friends over at 3 Fat Nerds podcast, shout out to Ron, Rich, and hashtag Big Natty Cool Diesel, who is now on Twitter.
Lord have mercy.
You've been warned. They just had their 100th episode, which shout out to them for that. Congratulations, guys. But Rich was also very gracious to give us an interview he had with Myke Ivory from Uppercut Editions. Now, Myke is involved with the Mortal Kombat Compendium book, which they have made. They're going to make some rounds with it. So we are going to share with you that interview right now.
All right, nerds, we're here. I'm back, and we are about to have a wonderful interview. Of course, my guest is a very good friend of mine. I've known him for a while. I promised him that he didn't have to do any Batman bombs to be on this show. Ladies and gentlemen from Uppercut Editions, my good friend Myke Ivory. How you doing, bud?
Hey, what's going on? Happy to be on, man.
Awesome. We're glad to have you on. So you formerly were known as the Mortal Kombat Encyclopedia Project. I mean, that was a mouthful. So Uppercut Editions, good change. Let me know how this project kind of got started, and how you guys came up with trying to push to get this book out there to the world.
It started in 2015 when Mortal Kombat was approaching the 25-year mark. And we started to see that, there was a saturation with a lot of other games that were celebrating not just games, but like franchises that were celebrating their history. And they were pretty popular among collectors in terms of like Marvel Encyclopedia, Star Wars Encyclopedia. Street Fighter has had multiple now. Tekken's had one. Even Darkstalkers, some other games have had one. But Mortal Kombat hasn't, and it's been one of the top 5 fighting game franchises in the world. The characters are very recognizable. They're household names to a point. And so I kind of kicked it off for fun, and it started as like a petition. And most folks know petitions generally don't go anywhere, as the folks who tried to get the Last Jedi appealed will know. But we took it from there, and author of the Mortal Kombat X comic books and story lead for Mortal Kombat 11 as well as Injustice 2, Sean Kittleson, kind of lit a fire under our ass and challenged us and said, hey, listen, man, if they're not going to listen to you, make them listen. So we decided to kind of take it into our own hands, and my team and I, we started to build it from the ground up. It started as just images, and then we said, hey, well, why not just put something together and put it in front of them? So that's where we are now, 5 years in the making, and it's only gotten better and better the way it's looked, and it's gotten a lot of traction.
Oh, absolutely. I'm probably one of the few people who's had the privilege of seeing kind of your progress as you went, because I have an old PDF file of when it was right in its like infancy of you guys just putting the original one together. And all the way to the fact that I am holding a copy of the promo copy of the book that you gave to me when I was down visiting you. The book looks amazing, by the way. Even though this is just a 50-page promo, this you can just tell from looking at it, the quality is high, the graphics are great. There's a lot of really good content in it. Who was responsible for the majority of the detail of this?
It's a team effort. We do have an author between my author, Jeff, also known as Razor's Edge in the Mortal Kombat scene. He's a known Mortal Kombat lore lord. He does an awesome job. He's very thorough. And then we have an editor who does a lot of our editing. We didn't have previously on the old book, which it now you can see it. A lot of the writing is a lot more fluid, and it has the same voice across the whole book. Lindsay Hicks of Gaming Insurrection, she does an awesome job. And then my designer, Tommy, who is the co-founder of Uppercut Editions, he is an incredible amount of work in terms of putting the layout together, finding things that will make more sense in terms of pitching it to our audience. And then we have our asset team who painstakingly cuts out those little images of the characters and grabs all those 4K shots that are in our book. All together, our whole team kind of puts together that thing there. And it is a work of love, and I wouldn't be able to do it without them. So, I mean, it's truly a team effort.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, just going through like the promo book, just kind of describing it to him, because it's hard for me to read it on air, but I've had a little bit to digest and read it. There's not many stones you don't you leave unturned. I mean, it has a great direction. You have like each game and what characters were in the game. You have like they have there's sections for mini games, stage levels, and of course the characters. And as you pointed out, there's a lot of screen grabs. You can see like the different looks, the different masks that they've worn, different concept art. You guys did a real painstaking job of like going through and finding all of that stuff, and it looks really great together. So like I said before, I have a 50-page promo book. So the real book, how many pages is that about?
350 pages.
350 pages. Wow, that's a lot, and it just dives deeper. Like I said, the promo book has a few different characters, a few different things. You can see where it's going. You can see the different flow and direction. And so, is it the whole book kind of follow like that, kind of like the coffee table book that you can flip open and flip through?
Yeah, so the whole book is it's going to be 13 by 11, so it is going to be very large. It's about the size of what you have there, but obviously 350 pages is going to be much, much more content compared to the 50 that is in that promo book. But what we're going for is we're trying to combine an art book and the encyclopedia look. So it's a 2-for-1 type deal because, a lot of Mortal Kombat has changed a lot over 25 to 20, 26, 27 years, and the characters have looked different in each and every game. So we want to represent that as best as we can. The same thing for the arenas. Like, when you say the pit, you uppercut somebody down into the spikes, but some folks don't know how many times the pit has changed over the course of, those years, or, how many times a character has changed their wardrobe. And it's silly to say how many different times or how many different ways can you design a yellow ninja or a blue ninja, but there's a plethora of it. But the idea is to capture this coffee table book and basically celebrate this franchise.
Yeah, I think it does a great job. Just from me looking at it, it does a great job of being a book that you can read, because I did read through it, and it's really interesting to read it and get the points of it. But then after you read it, most books, think about it, you read a book and then it sits on your shelf. You might reread it someday, but you don't. With this book, you can actually leave it on a coffee table and guests can come over, and even if they don't read it, just flipping through and looking at the pictures is great, or even just to display it on a case itself. It's a good conversational piece, especially if you have other friends who are fans of the series. And trust me, there's a lot of them. I mean, the game has pushed a ton of content out there, and over the years, everybody grew up on it. I mean, I'm old enough to remember playing the game on the Sega Genesis system, the original game, and playing the arcade game as well. So, it is when you go back and see that, and then the newer fans who, maybe they didn't get in because they're, younger until, Mortal Kombat X or 11, you end up with, it's a good pace for everybody. The other thing I like that you did is you definitely had the highlight of the guest character section, which has become now a staple of Mortal Kombat. Do you expand on that in the 350-page version?
Yeah, we've taken every guest character that's ever appeared in the games, and they all get their own section. They all get a screenshot that demonstrates what their abilities are, and then they each get a screenshot of one of their fatalities, and we break them down with a mini biography, what their official biography is in the game. In the promo copy, I believe we have a lot of the folks from the newer games, including Kratos, Freddy Krueger, Jason, Leatherface, Alien, and Predator. In the newer one, all the DC characters will be represented that were in Mortal Kombat versus DC, and also the newer guest characters like Terminator, the newer Joker, so Joker will get 2 spots, and then obviously Spawn with the announcement coming this weekend, so Spawn will also get an announcement in there. But all those characters will get that same love. It's looking to be about, I think it's 12 pages of just guest characters that are brought in there. So all those guys get love.
Oh, that's awesome. And like I said, that's become a real staple of the franchise, especially in the later years here, especially starting with Mortal Kombat 9 and on, especially with the horror characters. So speaking of this weekend, that's why you're here. This weekend, you have a big weekend planned. You will be in Chicago, Illinois, correct?
Correct.
And what are you looking to achieve, and what are you doing in Chicago?
I ideally, what we're doing is we're taking these promo books out there, and the idea is to pitch this book to Warner Brothers and NetherRealm Studios. It'll be the biggest window of visibility that we have or have ever had with the book. Our whole team will be out there for the first time. So for some of us, it's our first time meeting for the first time. Our asset team is coming out. Timo and Nash, both of those guys, one's from Tennessee, one's from Puerto Rico. And then my buddy Josh will be coming out. And it's our first time going out there as a team to basically, hopefully, go to NetherRealm Studios and say, hey, listen, we've done all the work. And we have, we'll basically put this together for you and do this and see what we can get done for the fans. Outside of that, we're going to go to LCQ, which is Last Chance Qualifier, to hopefully get our name, Uppercut Editions, out there in the more of the esports scene for the Mortal Kombat players, and hopefully kind of network a little bit more. And then Final Combat, where we'll be working with a number of people, content creators that'll be there, and hopefully get our book some more visibility at the event where they show off Spawn.
Ooh, that's awesome. I mean, that's perfect timing. It's great that you're going to get a chance to knock out all that at the same time. It definitely puts the book out there, and it definitely I think there's no way people can't be excited. I mean, I've had this promo book and I have had time to digest it, but just looking at it and flipping through, you can see that there's a lot of work put in, and it looks great. While you're out there, I know that you've kind of been back and forth and trying to get this thing done. Is there anything that anybody listening can do to kind of help move this project along, especially if they'd like to see these on the shelves?
They could follow us on Twitter at Encyclopedia MK, and help kind of share some of the stuff we put out there. Let at NetherRealm and at Tyler Lansdowne on Twitter know that you want the Mortal Kombat Encyclopedia to happen. Those are your folks there. They'd love to hear it. You can also let Sean Kittleson know at Kittleson, Kittleson, SEN, and let him know, that you love the project as well. On Facebook, we're the Mortal Kombat Encyclopedia Project, but it'll say Uppercut Editions on there. So if you just look up Uppercut Editions, you'll find us on Facebook. But basically, anytime you share any of our stuff to NetherRealm or WB Games, it would be a great help.
Oh, absolutely, and I'll make sure that I go through and put the names in into the description of the podcast, so that way, if they want to just click on a link, it'll take them there, and everybody will remember where they are. So I'll do that. I'll do that due diligence to get it out there. Of course, you guys can't do any crowdfunding or anything like that, or else I'd be plugging that for you. Which is too bad.
Well, Warner Brothers told us no.
Yeah, you can't piss them off, especially when you're trying to get this done. With that, though, I'm gonna after this weekend, we're gonna find some free time. Have you come on the main Three Fat Nerds podcast? We can jump deep into the lore. Maybe even have you come on for the whole show or something. Have a lot of fun with Diesel and Ron, who unfortunately could not be here because they're both working. I was gonna make a clever joke about how they both had the coronavirus, but then we might get well wishes for them, and we can't have that here. And trust me, what Diesel has is not the coronavirus. But we'll have you on there, and hopefully, like I said, we're going to try to get this out. If you're listening on another podcast, I was passing this out to a bunch of our podcast friends, and hopefully, to make it a little wider. Hopefully, you guys can, get the word out there. Trying to do our best to help out because, we like to help out our friends, and we're also all about doing the DIY stuff. So, you guys have been awesome, and we've had discussions about this before in the past on the show, and it's done very well. So hopefully we can get this out there and cast a wider net as you guys are trying to make this thing happen. So in closing, you got anything you want to say?
No, and I thank you guys for your support, and I look forward to being on again with all three of you guys, and just give us a follow on social media and help us get the word out even more. And that's all it really helps. I mean, fan support is everything, and it's the reason we are where we are right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Myke, for coming on the show. Thank you for, doing this interview with us. And like I said, I hope everybody out there listening, please go to the Twitter, go to Facebook, go to their page, like their page, follow them. More importantly, pound it out and make sure that the people who need to hear that we want this to come out, have it come out. We will be, as soon as you tell me we can, we will be putting up some pictures and videos on our end as well. So, good luck in Chicago, and we'll be right back.
Thanks to Rich for hooking us up with that interview. And if you want to find out about more what Myke was up to in Chicago and what's going on with the Mortal Kombat Compendium, check out on Twitter at Encyclopedia MK. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Okay, it's time to record the promo.
What?
Promo.
The what?
The promo. We should record a promo.
I don't have the body for porno.
No, a promo.
Oh, guys, we should record a promo.
Oh, that's a great idea. Hey, we're 3 hours later. I'm Matt.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Mike.
We started this podcast because there's too much content in the world, and finding something worth your time could be a hassle.
That's where we step in.
Every week we listen, watch, or play something for up to 3 hours, and then we come back together to talk about it and see if it's possibly worth your time.
Follow us on Twitter at @3HRS_later, and our Facebook and Instagram, 3HRS later. And please give us a review on Podchaser and iTunes. And we have a Linktree link as well with everything else. Link tr.ee/3 hours later.
3 hours later. Hey, that was a great idea, Mike.
I hate you both.
Hi, this is Jimmy Gazdick from Crimson Brethren and Floodlands, and you're listening to ODPH.
Coming back for the third segment of this edition of the ODPH podcast. And Pat, there's a big movie coming out this week.
Oh, yeah?
Well, if you're into comic books, that is. And that is Valiant Comics' Bloodshot.
Okay.
Now, Pat, are you familiar with this character?
Nope.
Okay. So the very quick synopsis is Bloodshot came out of the Valiant Comics universe in the 90s, which was like a little spin-off universe that really took off. Most notably, you would probably hear about X-O-Man of War, Turok Dinosaur Hunter, which was a very big video game.
I remember that one.
So Archer and Armstrong, Harbinger. It was a very fresh take on a new universe that tied in, and Bloodshot really stood out because he had ties to a different character called Rai, I'm sorry, because you can kind of pronounce it different ways, but it's like Samurai. So
okay.
Rai.
Okay.
Valiant was doing a lot of crazy different things in the 90s, which I always really liked their universe. It was just a really fresh take on the typical setup. And I always remember the cover of Bloodshot #1 because it was the first time you really saw a Chromane cover.
Oh.
And if you ever hear in the movie Mallrats by Kevin Smith, they kind of rip about it because in the 90s, a lot of stuff was getting these Chromane covers. And they would charge an exuberant amount, in my opinion, for those covers. But Bloodshot was the one that kind of stood out and really was, I would say, represented a lot of like the 90s heroes of just the action shoot 'em up Punisher type.
Yeah.
Because his whole backstory is he's a soldier that was injected with nanonites and has really become this unstoppable killing machine, but he doesn't know his background. So when Valiant was in business in the 90s, Bloodshot was a very known character. And then Valiant kind of went away for a little bit, and then a resurgence. And right now, I mean, they're really killing it on some of their books now, too. So this is the first movie that is going to be coming out with any Valiant characters. We talked about that there was a Harbinger project as well that was coming out, but I believe that is now under the Sony banner.
Right.
So this one is not under Sony. Dave Wilson is the director, but what's most notably is the lead actor in this movie, and that is one Vin Diesel.
I think I've heard of him.
Which Vin is a huge comic book guy. Obviously, we know that he is part...
I Am Groot.
Yes, of I Am Groot and that whole nine. So to see how they're going with this is going to be a really interesting take. Now, the trailer, as we've discussed on here numerous times, is a very basic. I don't want to say
simplistic.
It's simplistic to what you would expect from this character, which you have somebody that is, that is just waking up and has been, what has happened to me? I don't know. And you're really trying to figure out, okay, what is going on in the background, and just kind of
it shows enough for the people who've read the comic and know who he is to kind of be like, oh, this is good, this looks awesome, I want to see this, while also simultaneously introducing him and giving an idea of who he is to folks maybe such as myself who've never read Bloodshot, never heard of Bloodshot, to go, who the heck is this guy?
Exactly, because like I say, visually impressive of how they were going to do the character, because he always has a red circle on him in the middle of his chest, and that's where he's injected with the nanonites from the corporation that's trying to make him into an unstoppable killing machine. And where it just kind of wakes up is that Vin Diesel is having these flashbacks of when he was out on missions. And just you see that they're also experimenting on other people, and just really this kind of ties into a lot of what Valiant does, because they always had one evil corporation that was behind everything, and just how they go in and just really start messing around with most everybody in the timeline. I mean, that's just how it is. And just from this trailer that we've seen and we've discussed about it too, it's very simplistic. It's very down to basics. You get the idea that Bloodshot is an unstoppable killing machine, and you just see the special effects where he's getting half of his face blown off and just resurgence is back. And then you're seeing a character that has spider-like tentacles that is going to be his antagonist, and just really seeing a lot of action. And dare I say, it's kind of reminds me in a weird sense like the Expendables, just some stuff that's way over the top, and you really expect this from Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not reinventing the wheel by any means, but it's going to be a fun little movie that if you're really interested in seeing just like it's like a throwback action film.
Well, okay.
And that's what you can really say is, okay, this is coming out, and this is what you should expect. And it does make a lot of sense. So they're not really reinventing the wheel, so to speak.
No.
But for a new universe to break into the, dare I say, field of Marvel and DC, Pad, do you think this is really important for this film to succeed?
I would say so, yeah, just because, there are folks who enjoy the Marvel movies. I count myself among them. I know there are people who, it's not really their cup of tea. It's too cookie cutter. It's too bright and happy. It's too, humory. It's too this. It's too that. And I know there's folks who enjoy the DC movies and they love what's going on there and they want things darker and grittier. And I know, and I'm sure there's a group of folks out there who don't really like either. They go to both, but they're like, this isn't really my cup of tea. They want that third option. You go out to dinner. You think you got your steak, you got your burger, and then you maybe got like a nice sandwich. Something that's looking good. You not really want a burger. You don't really want a steak. You want a really good sandwich, maybe like a BLT or something like that.
Yeah.
This would be it for those folks that, okay, I don't really like Marvel because it's a little too cookie cutter. It's a little too bright and happy. Not really big into DC because they don't know what the hell they're doing these days. But hey, here's something else that, maybe this is my cup of tea.
Well, I think it's just something to see and be very behind is that a company such as Valiant, which doesn't play the same way that Marvel or DC does. It's a very indie comic line in its own right, but it is a shared superhero universe. To see somebody like that get to the big screen with a character and have an A-list character or A-list actor such as Vin Diesel, who people know and is going to have a monster year with the Fast and Furious franchise, and everybody knows him from Groot, from Guardians of the Galaxy, to attach himself to the project is a very big deal. To see where this character has came since November 1992. That's when it first appeared.
Right.
And Eternal Warrior and Ray number 0, which, like I say, Valiant numbering is a little different thing. But to see that Kevin Van Hook's character has really, gone out and really lasted the test of time. I mean, with Van Hook and Dan Perlin and Bob Layton all, combining their talents to make this character and really sell itself on it to last through all these iterations. It's very cool to see, and where it plays out from here, I mean, this could spark a new shared universe. Until we were talking about Harbinger, I believe, is still at Sony. This film was done by Columbia, so I don't necessarily know how that's going to work out. And especially with the different iterations of Valiant that whatever storyline they play out, like I honestly don't know what storyline they're going to be doing for this movie.
Right.
I think that it could go a lot of different ways. I think that it could be something that throws back to the 90s. I think it'll probably be more closer to the more recent launch that they had. Because, like I said, Valiant has hit the reset button a couple times from where they started in the 90s, and since they've been back in the early 2010s. To see how this is going to play out is going to be anybody's guess.
Right.
I'm excited to see where they kind of play this in. And like I say, I read Valiant when I was in the 90s. Like, that's the one I'm more familiar with. I'm not really familiar with how it is now. But from everybody I've talked to, Brian from Cheers to Comics, Justin at Soundaround, and a few other fans that talk on the show, Valiant comics are a very good line. I recommend them. Like, they recommend them to me, so I recommend them to other people. And Bloodshot is one of those characters that stand out. The Harbinger one, I'm waiting to see how this team is going to be in. Because, like I said, the Harada organization is what ran everything in the 90s with Valiant. So to see how that is going to, factor in with everything and go on, and, it could tie into a lot of things, but for everything to really be what it needs to be for Valiant to take off, this film needs to be successful. I'm not saying it needs to be 100 million weekend.
No.
I don't think it's going to do that by any means. I don't.
Make its money back.
Yeah. I think if it makes its money back and it establishes that we can have a profitable franchise here.
Right. It makes its money back, and I would say the fan reception is good.
Yes. I think that that's all they kind of need because, like I say, the next one that's lined up is Harbinger, and that's going to kind of fall in line with your New Mutants / Young Team. Because, like I said, that one is just based around them fighting and breaking free from the Harada Corporation, which I believe at one point was titled the Harbinger Foundation. It's been a while since I've read that. So if I'm wrong, please correct me on Twitter. I will not be mad about it because it's been a long time seeing it. And that one has always been like their flagship team. But they've always had that kind of same vibe as like the New Mutants. Like I don't want to say like their X-Men team, but they never really had like a Wolverine type character to really stand out.
Right.
So if Bloodshot opens the door for that, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I did hear some rumor that they were trying to do an Eternal Warrior movie based off that too, with Dave Bautista somehow connected to that.
Okay.
There's a long time rumor, so I don't know where that ranks right now. But I think that it could definitely go a lot of different places. And for Bloodshot, like I say, it's going to be very cut and dry. Is it going to win an Academy Award for Best Script? Probably not.
No.
But will it be enough that you'll start seeing some interest fall behind Valiant for this? Yeah, I think so. I think this is coming out at a good time because it's right before all the summer blockbusters are going.
Yeah.
It's having a decent amount of promotion behind it.
So there's not anything at the theaters right now that I can think of. Oh, this will give it some competition at the box office.
The only thing I think that it might fear happening is maybe comic book hero fatigue. Maybe.
I mean, people have been saying that about Marvel for years.
Right, which, like I say, Marvel is the brand you know. Marvel is like your Coca-Cola. DC is like your Pepsi, so to speak, in reference to...
So does that make this like Tab?
Maybe. Well, it's an indie thing, so I mean, this could be Tab. It could be like White Claw. I mean, who knows? it could go a lot of different ways.
Ain't no laws when you're drinking claws.
Exactly. So we've been told. But overall, though, the trailer looks intriguing enough that I think it could stand on its own. Am I saying it's going to be a home run? No, but I could be surprised. I think that if people are going in expecting like a monster epic, something like Christopher Nolan would direct, no, you're not gonna have this. Is this going to be Fast and Furious 9.2? Who knows? Maybe. I expect a lot of over-top action. The CGI in it looks very good for what it's doing, and I know they're trying to emphasize like when somebody's like skin is flying off, it's regenerating, and you're seeing a lot of that, which I think is an interesting visual. I don't necessarily know if it's going to resonate that well, but I think that for what this movie is going to do, and just to see Valiant get some shine about this, I'm super excited to see it. Like, I think to support the indie comic scenes, even when it's in a movie, and if it's going to be awful, well, I'm going to be recapping it next week on the podcast.
It can't be any worse than Dark Phoenix.
Right. The benchmark is low right now.
Yeah.
It's very low.
Dark Phoenix. Yeah. There's no way it can be worse than Dark Phoenix.
If you can be better than Dark Phoenix, we will give you a nod. But like I say, it's going to be a simple, straightforward, guy wakes up, he's been experimented on, and is going to find out who did what to him.
It's Vin Diesel. He's fighting things. Things are blowing up. He'll probably drift a car or two.
Yeah.
Like, who knows? You know what you're going to get if Vin Diesel's in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. So
unless it's Guardians of the Galaxy, but even then, you know what you're going to get.
Yeah, you know that you're going to get 3 words out of him.
I am Groot.
Yes, in different dictions, which he does it very well too.
Yeah.
And like I say, for Valiant to pull this off, it's going to be a big deal. Could this open the door for him to do some more stuff?
Maybe.
Who knows? Maybe. But Bloodshot needs to do decently at the box office if we're going to talk about any more movies coming out of Valiant. So for that reason alone, I'm going to give him the shot and give him some support. We'll see what happens this week. But hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. Are you excited about Bloodshot? Do you even care? Did you even know this movie was coming out? Let me throw that at, because I know a couple people are like, what are you talking about? Definitely let's have that conversation. Hit us up on those social media accounts. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Brian Wolf from Fair City Fire. You are listening to ODPH, the greatest podcast in Binghamton.
Woo!
Shot her running, her spine's been long dead.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pat, what you got for those one-shots?
I'm going to talk about E3 because I think everyone saw this coming. It was just a matter of time before it was announced. Very unfortunate, but very understandable. E3 this year, of course, the Electronics Gaming Expo that takes place in Los Angeles and has taken place in Los Angeles for the last, I think it's 26 years or something crazy like that, where, you know, your big gaming companies like Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, Ubisoft, Bethesda, among many others, all show up and debut their games and show off new games and show off their new hardware and new consoles and new everything. I remember the one year Sony was finally unveiling their second PlayStation portable console system, the PlayStation Vita, and very funnily, the person who was introducing it goes, and now for the worst kept secret on the internet. You know, so, and it, like I said in past episodes, it's always been a part of my growing up and when I was a teenager and whatnot, because I remember, it always takes place in the summer. You know, it would take place, in years past during summer vacation from when I was off school. So when, the channel G4 was still a thing, they'd show all the press conferences, and I'd sit there with my brother on a, sunny afternoon or whatever, watching the Microsoft press conference, watching the Ubisoft press conference, and watching the Sony press conference, because those were the games that we were going to end up playing and wanting to see. But as with what everyone knows what's going on in the world right now with the coronavirus going on, and please, stay safe, wash your hands.
Absolutely.
Take the necessary precautions. Don't buy 80 rolls of toilet paper, please. Because of what's going on with the coronavirus, it was announced today that E3 2020 has been canceled. So the organizers of the conference said, quote, "After careful consultation with our member companies regarding the health and safety of everyone in our industry, our fans, our employees, our exhibitors, and our longtime E3 partners, we have made the difficult decision to cancel E3 2020, scheduled for June 9th through the 11th in Los Angeles." They went on to say they'll be looking to, quote, "coordinate an online experience to showcase industry announcements and news in June 2020. So, the unfortunate news, and so you had some reactions from some of the big gaming companies. Microsoft said, quote, "E3 has always been an important moment for Team Xbox. Given this decision, this year we'll celebrate the next generation of gaming with the Xbox community and all who love to play via an Xbox digital event. Details on timing and more to come in the coming weeks," close quote. Nintendo said, quote, "Nintendo supports the ESA's decision to cancel this year's E3 to help protect the health and safety of everyone in our industry, our fans, our employees, our exhibitors, and our longtime E3 partners. We would like to express our concern and support for all those affected by the COVID-19 outbreak during this challenging time. We'll continue to be flexible and redirect our efforts to other ways of keeping our fans up to date about our activities and products. Because of the COVID-19 outbreak, large industry events may be untenable for the foreseeable future, but we are considering various ways to engage with our fans, and we will have more to come, more to share as the year continues." Ubisoft said, quote, "The health and well-being of our teams, players, and partners is our top priority. So while we're disappointed, we fully support the ESA's decision to cancel E3 2020. E3 is and will continue to be a moment where we come together as a community and share our love of games. We're exploring other options for a digital experience that will allow us to share all the exciting news we have planned." Electronic Arts went on to say, quote, "We've continued to follow the coronavirus developments around the world very closely. Clearly, the situation is evolving by the day, and we've been reviewing how it will change our plans for EA Play 2020. We will share more soon." And Devolver Digital, who you might not know the name, but you might know some of the games they've worked on. They're most known for working on the Serious Sam franchise back on Microsoft Windows and Xbox 360. They've done some Hotline Miami games. They put out a lot of indie games. They said, quote, "The week of E3 has always been a big part of what we do, and we are genuinely bummed about the cancellation of the event itself. Lots to juggle, but right now we have we plan on having a live stream Devolver Direct / press conference and possibly more, close quote. I know the folks at Kotaku, I'm reading all these quotes from, said Warner Brothers, Take-Two, Square Enix, and Bethesda did not immediately respond to requests for comment, and Activision Blizzard declined to comment. So definitely unfortunate situation, because for folks such as myself who play video games, it's always something fun to look forward to and exciting to look forward to, because it's like a car expo. It's like, the consumer and electronics expo, where they show off all the fancy gadgets and the massive television screens. It's stuff you're going to be playing in the very near future. But with everything going on, fully understand it. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. I imagine Nintendo's already got the directs they do, where it's their scheduled live streams where they show off stuff. So I'm sure they'll do one of those, but in a really, cool, awesome way. Sony already wasn't going to E3 this year, but right. I'm sure they'll do something. Sounds like Microsoft and all the other folks are going to be doing something similar, because they all have channels on YouTube and Twitch and Facebook and all a bunch of other sites where they can just, I think they can just turn around and do what they were going to do at the press conference, but just live stream it. So there'll still be something there, but it just won't be the same.
Yeah, it's definitely being smart right now with everything going on, and we can't stress enough, please be safe in this time period.
Yeah.
Make sure you're taking care of yourself and doing the proper procedures to make sure you stay healthy during this entire time. That's going to be the big thing right now. So I understand, as much as it sucks that this has happened, they're just trying to watch out for the public's well-being. So I get that. Like I say, for anything that was going to be going on at E3, I was going to be recommending go check out the Geek Freaks podcast. You heard the promo earlier in the show. Definitely show them some love. Get some of that knowledge that they're giving out this weekend on their latest episodes they're going to be doing. So they're going to be covering everything that was going to be going on in E3. So if you really want to find out what's going on, check them out.
Yeah.
I mean, even to follow up about what's going on with the coronavirus, too, they stopped production of Falcon and Winter Soldier right now over in Prague.
Yeah, they were filming over in Prague, but because of what everything going on with the coronavirus, they've obviously halted production, so no word yet on when that'll pick back up.
Right, so...
And before anyone starts freaking out and wondering, it hasn't been delayed, we haven't heard anything, so
right.
Wait and see.
Yeah, the only thing we know is they have stopped production, so we're not sure how far along they are.
Right.
We're not sure, whatever the moves are going to be, it's too early to predict what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's a big show coming out, but Marvel, I'm sure, and Disney Plus obviously will make adjustments accordingly. I wouldn't doubt, I'm not saying I know anything, but I wouldn't doubt they bump WandaVision up early.
Could be.
So if that's all done, because I know it's getting close to, because they're filming that right now, if they decide to do something like that.
Yeah.
So overall, the safety of the public is what's more important.
Yeah.
So, do what you got to do.
Yep.
That's all we're going to kind of say with that. So for my one-shots, there was some comic book news I have been waiting for a long time, Pat.
Okay.
One book that, as soon as it was announced, I had circled on my must-go-get as soon as it comes out.
Okay.
Was The Three Jokers.
Ah, okay.
Now, it was finally announced that there is a release date of Wednesday, June 17th, 2020.
Okay.
That Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok, I should say, have completed work. So the book is allegedly done. I'm going by from what was reported by in Entertainment Weekly, that Fabok and Johns have completed it, that they're ready to go, and this is going to be the origin story of the Joker as in comics. For now. Because as was revealed in like almost a throwaway line in Justice League way back when Batman was on Metron's chair from the New Gods, he asked, what's the Joker's real identity? And he said, there's three Jokers. Are you like, what?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to find out the whole story. And how it's been tagged is the paraphrase, the quote-unquote, is a spiritual sequel to The Killing Joke.
Oh, Lord.
Now...
Oh, Lord.
To make that comment, and like I said, that is their quote, not mine.
That's very deliberate.
That's very deliberate. That is a lot of weight to be putting on.
I'll say that's not an instance where they're just trying to compare it to something and that's the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah. You don't exactly throw that name around in comics.
No.
Unless you got something to back it up. Not saying they don't, but they need to deliver something huge with this, because if you're going to tie it into The Killing Joke, one of the most iconic Batman stories of all time, the definitive Joker story, in my opinion, by Alan Moore, you have to come with it. You have to really deliver on something. Not saying the Johns hasn't got some crazy idea cooked up, but
there's going to be something crazy with this.
It's got to be something. I mean, he just wrapped up Doomsday Clock. That was very good.
Like I can fully see them going like revealing one of the identities of the Jokers and being like Thomas Wayne or something bonkers like that.
Yeah,
because that's what they would do.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that they got to do something like that. And
they don't do anything like half cocked, like, oh, it's this random character from like the 80s that was in a 50 issue run over the course of a decade that all but maybe two of you have forgotten. No, they don't do that. They do it like big bombshells.
Yeah, so this is going to be the true telling story. Like I don't have any early idea other than a split personality was my original guess with this.
I'm going to also say this. Get your pre-orders in at your local comic shops early because this is going to fly off the shelves.
If anything has been taught by the recent Punchline Mania, go to your comic shops early. Like after you hear this episode, go up to your store owners or whoever is ordering the books for your shop. Say, I would like to have this reserved. So you don't get screwed over when somebody goes that has never read the series and just grabs all the books off the shelf because they think it's going to be a collector's item. Be proactive about it. Be
sensible.
Be sensible about it. Because the last thing, and I know Brian has had a lot to say about this. I know Justin's had a lot to say about this, respectively. When you are behind on just not placing that subscription, placing that pull box list, you fall victim to this stuff happening. You need to be proactive about getting to your shops. Hey, when is this coming out? I'd like to pre-order. I'd like to have it reserved. What do I have to do? They'll talk to you.
Yeah, they're more than willing to do it.
Absolutely. That's the whole thing about going into a comic shop, because otherwise you fall into the whole Punchline Mania drama, which everybody knew the book was coming out, is what is. So this time around, though, 3 Jokers, we got to make this happen. In fact, after the show, I will try getting a hold of Justin to be proactive about it myself here. So I will practice what I preach, folks. But that is all coming out, and the book, from all the information I've been reading, allegedly it's going to be monthly. So it's not going to be like a 2-month delay.
We hope.
Like Doomsday Clock right now, allegedly from a couple different sources I've heard, it's supposed to be monthly. So let's keep our fingers crossed about that, because, damn, I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
I'm not even... I try overselling a little bit. No, that is legitimately going to be a shock to the system for any comic book reader. And if you're a Joker fan, this is your book. So you're going to have to check it out, because I think the ramifications along with this and what Tunein's doing with the Joker War this summer too, it's going to be a big summer for Batman.
Yeah.
Big summer. So at the comic book shops, big week for Marvel. Cable #1 comes out.
Okay.
So this is the first... or the second book under the a second wave of the X-Men, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe that's how they build
Wolverine
it.
came out. I know Hellions is coming, which I've been very vocal. I'm not too excited about the team. The creative team is good. The actual characters on the book, I'm not. It's not really moving the needle for me. X Factor was kind of the same vibe too, but Cable is going to be always interesting, especially now that he's Kid Cable and the weirdness that goes on in that world. So that's going to be coming out to the shops. I mean, Jerry Dugan's writing it, so that it'll be worth picking up. X-Men 8 is coming out too. Immortal Hulk 32, which, Pad, I know that you were very sick last week, so I don't think you caught last week's episode. Do you realize that we are near Incredible Hulk number 750?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, so that will be next month's issue of 33, I believe. So this is going to be building up. I mean, Immortal Hulk has just been absolutely bonkers. And looking at what else is coming out, I mean, Marvel's got so much, man. Venom's coming out, so Donny Cates is doing something crazy with that. And obviously, the rest of the books coming out. His Thor run has just been absolutely insane, too. So much good stuff coming at your local comic book shops. What do you need to do? First, you need to listen to the Wednesday pull list coming from Brian from Cheers to Comics. And you also need to check out on our Facebook page. And I saw 3 Fat Nerds is also sharing them, too. The one only Justin Incredible Cosplay. The man, the myth, the legend. You see him every Wednesday on our Facebook page, is giving you the breakdown of every book you need to know at the shop. So check them out before you head down to your shops, and then make the right decisions, folks. We give you as much fair warning as we can. That being said, the music you heard on this episode is that of Shout at the Robots. Great friends of the show. They got a lot of stuff cooking on. So where do you find out about all of them? You go over to OchoDuroParlayR.com. You check the music section. You find out about them. Second Suitor, Floodlands, Walking Distance, Fair City Fire. Plus, we have a couple other bands that have reached out that want to come on the show next month, Pat.
Ooh.
So we know Tom Zulu. We just got to work out the date. That is the only thing holding up right now. He's going to be coming on. And Yard Party is going to be coming through. So we're finalizing that date. Will most likely be in April. So stay tuned for that. But to check them out ahead of time, you head over to the ODPH music section on OchoDuroParlayR.com. On there as well, you can also check out Parlay Points, the blog section of the podcast, which we have some news coming out with that, but I don't want to spoil it just yet. There's a little teaser up there, but I'm not going to spoil anything there. You can also head over to the ODPH directory and check out Tom from Off the Cuff Gaming. Shout out to him, doing a lot of cool things on the YouTube channel. You can also check out Excite Wrestling and everything going on there. We were down at the 8th anniversary show this past weekend. Great time at the X. Moose and Team Excite are promising something big for the April 11th show.
Wonderful.
We hope. We don't know, but that's a little teaser that we're trying to guess at. We're trying to get Johnny Moose on here to actually tell us.
He's being very tight-lipped.
He's being very tight-lipped. He's going to Bloodshot with me tomorrow as we're recording, so I'm going to see what I can pry out, and maybe I can do a quick blog about it. We'll have to wait and see. But also on the ODPH directory, you can check out all the different podcasting groups that we are in with the amazing people that are in those groups. So shout out to Pod Nation, shout out to NXTWAVE, shout out to the Apocalypse community. I have to pause to say that, to say it right. That's the one Brian from Cheers to Comics is running. That thing is a monster already out the gate, Pat. And of course, hashtag 607 podcast, which we have to shout out yet again. Congratulations on 100 episodes to Rich, Ron, and hashtag Big Natty Cool Diesel, who is on Twitter. You have been fair warned. We can't stress that enough. So you can check out about them. You can check out about Blowjam. We'll give a shout out to Delia and Ryan there as well. We'll give a shout out to Horror Zone 607, Mike C, and what they're cooking up there. You can find all the links all on there as well. Plus the 8122 Productions Patreon. Pad, Love is Scary is weekly for the month of March. Dr. Derek is in the lab cooking up something. Dare I say, I wish I could talk about it. I know people say it's a throwaway line. No, it's not. I can't talk about it because I've been told if I say anything about it, 2 providers will kick us off. That is how much hot that content is. So for $1 a month, you get an open seat at the table. For $3 a month, you get a comfier chair, and you get a little more perks. And there's a lot more coming on. There's a rumor that Ron is having a show on the Patreon talking. Well, I don't even want to spoil it for you. You'll just have to find out yourself. 8122productions.com. Shout out to those guys, and we'll see who's worthy of the last coaster. That's a little foreshadowing for if you heard the last episode. Everything that is the ODPH you can check out on OchoDuroParlayHour.com. And one last plug before we close out the show. We announced this on the sports show, but I can't stress this enough. Live stream for The Cure is going down May 27th through the 31st. Epic Film Guys are running a streaming podcast marathon. They do this for the past couple of years. It's an amazing cause to raise money for cancer research. The ODPH is proud to be a part of it this year. So we will be working on some content for it Sunday, May 31st, 1 to 2 p.m. with Rich from 3 Fat Nerds and Tom from Off the Cuff Gaming. We're coming up with something for it, something special, something that you're going to have to see to believe.
I'll say, if the Giants and Knicks can just screw up epically in like the same week, we'll just put Coach Duffy on a live mic for an hour.
We could. Who knows who's going to be part of it?
Give Coach Duffy a live mic for an hour.
The only 3 people I can guarantee are going to be on there is myself, Rich, and Tom.
Okay.
Pat, if you want to come down, you're more than welcome. If Coach Duffy wants to come down, he's more than welcome. Well, we're going to make this a big, big episode because this is a very big event. I am a very big fan of this event and what they do, that Justin and Nick do from Epic Film Guys to raise money for cancer research. I think that they do an amazing job. We are going to be playing this promo until the event. You hear it on every episode that's coming out on the ODPH. For more information on that, live stream for The Cure, or you can hit the button that's on OchoDuroParlayHour.com. Enough said. That's all I got for this week. So for the one and only Padawan
thank you.
I'm your host, Ken. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. See you next time.